And we're rolling!
Hi, everybody. I'm Ben Farmer, and I'm a cinephile.
I'm Megan Carver, and I'm a cine-newbie. We watch all kinds of movies.
Yes, we do.
NC-17 included, new and old.
And we let you know if you should watch them, too. Welcome back to So I Married a Cinephile. Wow. This week's episode, you guys.
It's like, there's so many thoughts. I watched this on Tuesday, and it's still bothering me.
Dare I say, you are changed.
I am a changed.
Having watched this movie.
And it's not like I'm a changed woman. I'm a changed person.
Yes,
like as a being
core,
existing in the world, I am a different, molecularly, I'm a different person.
Every chakra you have is now.
They've all gone to my uterus and they're hiding. They're hiding inside of my uterus now.
Oh my.
Along with having an extraordinary movie, we also have an extraordinary guest today.
Yes, we do.
We have our friend, Jason Satterlund.
Hi.
Welcome, Jason.
I'm here. How are you guys?
We're good. We're so excited to have you on.
Yes. I kind of been wanting to be on for quite a while.
You have.
And what a movie to start with, right?
I'm thinking, maybe they'll ask me to be like Die Hard or Predator or Showgirls. Okay. I will do that one.
Of course. And just for background for folks who would be interested to know a little bit more about Jason, which everyone should be interested in. We know Jason because we met him through the Portland film community. Yes. Jason is a fantastic and insanely talented director whose Star Wars fan film, dare I say, nay, I must say, is so much better than
any of the newer
Star Wars ones that came out.
You guys are very sweet.
What's his name? The one guy was like, I didn't watch The Last Jedi, or not The Last Jedi. Was it Last Jedi?
Probably The Last Jedi.
He's like, I didn't watch Last Jedi.
The last one was Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't watch Rise of Skywalker, but I watched Jason Satterlund's film, and it was fantastic.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was a cool comment. Yeah, Kenobi, that was called. That was quite an experience.
I enjoyed Kenobi a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really good. And Ben was like, see, it's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
It's called good storytelling. Just do it.
It was quite an experience to make. And I don't want to drag us off track of what amazing cinema artwork we're going to talk about tonight. But it was quite an experience to make. And it actually hit I think it hit 1 million views in 24 hours. Boom.
Really?
It was cool. And it ended up on Steven Soderbergh's movies he watched last year, which I was shocked at that. And he didn't. And the movie not on his list was Rise of Skywalker.
Right,
He watched ours and
which I think says a lot. That says a lot. And Steven Soderbergh he's okay. He's done a few.
Okay.
He's done a few.
He's all right. Out of Sight. Ocean's 11.
I had a friend, by the way, this is like one of my favorite games, is to ask somebody if you kind of know what a movie is, but you don't actually know the plot. You try to explain it. And she hadn't seen Ocean's 11, and she's British, and she's like, I think it's all these people that are on a boat, and they're doing a heist on a boat, and the boat's name is 11.
That's exactly what it's about.
That's totally it. You got it. You totally got it, Errol. Good job.
He did Haywire as well.
I fucking love Haywire. I haven't watched that in a long time.
Oh my gosh, we should watch that.
Yeah,
that's one of the most realistic fight scenes.
Oh my god.
The hotel rooms fight scene.
Michael Fassbender. That whole fight is just get out of
here. Well, and what's her name? Not Ronda. Is it Ronda Rousey? What's her name?
It's like Gina Carrero.
Gershon?
No, not Gershon. Gina Gershon is in this movie. We're about to talk about.
My worlds are colliding. I'm blanking on her name, but she's like a legit MMA
fighter.
And so it's I dare say it's one of the few times I've ever seen a fight scene with a female lead that actually looks believable.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. It's like, oh yeah, like when she triangle chokes, she gets him in a guillotine at one point. It's like, yeah, that's pretty legit. And when she gets on top of him and triangle chokes him, and she's like breathing. It's like, yep, I know that move.
Yep.
I was gonna ask too, because we talk all the time about what we're up to. So, what have you been up to? What's one exciting thing that happened to you this week?
This week, well, so I shot a feature film last year called The Suppression, and we locked picture like in April. And so this week we shot the last little pickup shot, which is literally just a blood drop on the floor. But that was the last little pickup shot that we needed. Picture is locked. I started getting VFX in for stuff, and it's super exciting because this film is I mean, of course I'm going to say this because it's my film,
right?
But it's really good. I did not write it, but it was when I read the script, it was one of those. I was like, all right, I'll read the opening scene and maybe I'll go to bed. And I could not stop reading this until I got to the last scene.
Awesome.
Really?
It was, the writer his name is Dwayne Worrell. He wrote, he's written on a few TV shows. His last film was called The Wall. It's directed by.
I remember you told me about that one.
Yeah.
Directed by. Super simple.
Yeah. It was directed by, director of The Bourne Identity, Doug Liman.
Oh,
starring John Cena and
that's right.
And the guy from Kick-Ass. I always forget that actor's name.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, those two guys. Yes. So anyway, it's an Amazon film. You can see that. But anyway, he's a really great writer, really good guy, and he wrote this story, very similar. This writer's really good at writing small, contained films. One actor in a small space kind of thing. And the premise of this is about a soldier in Iraq. He's in the middle of a firefight. He gets hit with a bright light and he wakes up in this like 20 by 20 room. It looks like a prison cell, but there's no doors, there's no windows, there's no exits. He's got all his gear, his gun and everything. There's no people, there's no furniture. No one talks to him. He has no idea how he got there or who put him there. And then it starts to get weird. Like, starts to notice writing appearing on the wall that doesn't look right, and some of the writing's in other languages, and he's pretty sure it didn't exist a few minutes ago, but it starts appearing. Then the temperature starts to change, and then gravity changes, and he like ends up on the ceiling and on the walls, and like, and the minute you think you know what's going on, it changes again. You're like,
that's
what?
Awesome.
And the bulk of the film is him on the phone with someone else who claims to be in the exact same kind of space.
Oh, okay.
And it becomes this, are you the one doing this to me? And,
right.
And it's these two characters trying to work it out. It's a sci-fi thriller, but it has this amazing heart to it because it's essentially, the box forces them to look within. So there's a trauma aspect to it, PTSD.
Yeah.
These two characters have had it. So it's just amazing. It's a beautiful film. It's a really cool mystery. Like, I'm so excited. And we've shot the last little piece this week, and it's going to be done here very soon. And
congratulations.
Thanks.
You made a movie.
I did.
Speaking of having a lot of weird stuff happen to you,
or things escalating
very quickly, we watched Showgirls.
The infamous Showgirls, which came out in 1995, directed by Paul Verhoeven, who some of you may know as the director for Basic Instinct
and RoboCop.
RoboCop, right? And
RoboCop.
I think that's one of the major reasons I was excited to talk to you specifically about it. I don't know if you and I have ever really talked RoboCop or even anything Paul Verhoeven has done, but it's not a movie that Megan has seen. It's one of those movies that I'm like, I really want you to watch, Megan.
You want me to watch RoboCop?
But it's so like over the top violent but there's also like this satire to it at the same time. Like, it's there are like moments that are like laugh out loud funny, but some of the violence in the movie is like, whoa. And it's with like 80s practical effects too.
Yeah.
So there's squibs for days, but it's also a really good story at the same time. So for Paul Verhoeven to direct this movie
and then this
is so jarring.
Yeah.
The fact that it didn't like completely derail his
the fact
career.
that he looked at the script and was like, yeah, no, okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Were you sent a different script than you signed on? You're like, well, it's too late now? Like, what happened?
A little bit of backstory for this. The same guy who wrote Showgirls helped him write the screenplay for Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
We're coming off of Basic Instinct on a huge high.
Okay.
It was this big commercial success. I've seen Basic Instinct. I don't quite remember the plot, but it's like a kind of a sexual thriller, essentially.
That's the one with Michael Douglas, right?
Michael Douglas
And
and
Sharon
Sharon
Stone?
Stone. Yeah. The infamous like leg crossing interrogation scene with
I
Sharon
have
Stone.
no,
Right,
but
right.
now that makes a lot more sense
Yes.
about this.
So the same guy who wrote this.
Okay.
And I'm really interested to kind of further on, like maybe discuss like what themes do you think this movie had? What do you think they were going for? Not only
who is this for?
who is this movie for, and why was it made?
Why?
Like, those are some of the
That's
big
my big
points
thing.
that I kind of want to talk
Why?
about.
Okay, but
just to break it down a little bit, of course, just mentioned, directed by Paul Verhoeven, starring Elizabeth Berkley, who's best known playing Jessie Spano in Saved by the Bell. We also have Kyle MacLachlan showing up in this movie. What is Kyle MacLachlan doing here?
And he's not just like in it in a blip, like he's in it.
Yeah.
Movie.
He is wet in this
Rounded
movie.
out by a few other
That's
character
true.
actors, namely, yes, very much. The swimming pool scene is something I really want to talk about too.
Christ on sale.
Gina Gershon, who plays Crystal Connors. We have Glenn Plummer, who has a very extensive career as a character actor. Robert Davi, who was actually a Bond villain in one of the Timothy Dalton James
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And in Goonies.
And,
Oh my
and
God!
in Goonies.
Yeah.
Which ties into last week because we did Lethal 2, directed by
God.
Richard Donner. So that ties into Goonies.
Oh, my world
see,
is just,
it's all
oh
connected.
no.
It's all
See,
connected.
he went and opened up a strip joint after they lost the treasure.
That's right.
He's like, well, this isn't going to work.
They
So he
were
moved to
banned.
Vegas and opened a strip
They
joint,
were-
Cheetah.
They were kicked out of Astoria. They were not allowed back.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Oh my gosh.
That's a whole other
The,
onion to peel.
The plot breakdown per IMDb. Nomi, a young drifter,
I can't with the name. Already, I can't.
Know me.
arrives in Las Vegas to become a dancer and soon sets about clawing and pushing her way
Clawing.
to become the top of the Vegas Showgirls.
Yeah.
Also,
It's
there's also a
showtime.
plot breakdown that's like a page long, but I think that's all I'm gonna do. Yeah. It was really fun watching this movie with Megan, just based on her reactions.
I think
So-
I wrote down what is this movie like 7 times. Like
I think you texted that to me too while
I
you were watching it.
did.
What? All
Like,
caps.
should we have Jason watch this?
I was
I'm
like,
absolutely.
maybe we can ask him not to watch it. And I was like, can I just please be sure to tell Michelle that I didn't pick this? Like,
So,
What?
oh my
I want
gosh.
to preface this by saying the movie is rated NC-17.
Right.
It is the
Yeah.
only major NC-17 theatrical release in the United States ever. So
And the biggest release.
yeah.
This made ungodly amounts of money in home video rental.
Yeah.
Right, which is the most fascinating thing
So
to me,
the
that
budget-
it bombed at the box office.
Right. The budget was $45 million. They ended up making 36, I think, based on box office.
Right.
But home video rentals were $100 million.
Yeah.
$100 million.
That is amazing marketing, but I think so you see that infamous poster and it just sells itself, really.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the themes that I want. Again, we'll chat about this a little bit later, but the themes of sort of American exploitation, and do you think that was sort of their angle the entire time? Just like
Right.
sex sells, and we're not going to shy away from it. Like, this is not only is this the story we're going to tell, but this is how these women are actually treated in this industry.
I get, like, and there's even an article online that's like, actually, this is a feminist movie. I'm like, okay, we can
Okay.
just, all right.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Right.
Let's reel that
We can
shit
get into
in.
that a little bit.
Let's
So,
not.
first thoughts from
I mean, the movie just happened to me. I didn't want it. It's like, it's like an unpleasant surprise. The thing that I said about this movie that I think best describes it is aggressively hubris. Like,
Yes.
it's
That's a good way to put it.
so violent, and not in that, like, there's a lot of violent stuff that happens. P.S. Trigger warning, there's a big rape scene.
Yes.
That's
Really like hard to watch rape scene.
very
It's
hard
a
to
tough
watch.
one.
Yeah, that kind of came out of
Tough
left
one.
field.
Yeah. There was
Yeah.
no reason for it to happen.
No,
but
there was no,
it's
and
in
also
it.
too, I hated that, like, all the bad stuff really only happened to people that, like, African American actors. It's like the costumer got raped. The black guy that wanted to teach her how to dance, what was happening there?
I don't know.
He was like, sorry, I knocked this bitch up, so now I'm gonna quit dancing and be a dad. Like, and he's
I know,
like,
because kids are the worst thing that can happen to you.
he was no.
Like, I
I
mean-
mean, yes, but no. He
Yeah.
was like, no, like, people think I'm awful, and it was like, yeah,
What about you,
so
Jason?
mad.
Like,
Yes,
this
what
was
were
your
your
first
first
time
thoughts?
watching Showgirls. Like, what was
I think I watched the entire time with my hands like on my head. What is that? I mean, the opening scene.
Yeah.
You know what it felt like? About halfway through, I'm like, because I watched it with my wife, and I'm like, I feel like I'm watching a cartoon with like but a live action cartoon. Like these are caricatures of people all dialed up to 11.
Sure.
Overreacting to everything, and
my God.
everyone's a gigantic dick.
Yeah.
Everyone's a dick. Like there's no good. Well, the costumer is the only nice.
The costumer is the only good person. It's like Pulp Fiction went to Vegas and became strippers. Like there's no one you can actually root for,
right?
Except for like one person.
Yeah, and that was a big discussion we had too. They're like, we were both like, I didn't know who I was supposed to connect with. Really, I didn't know who I was supposed to root for.
Also, too. Okay, I just want to get right into it so badly. So like, okay, so she hitchhikes in to Vegas from somewhere in the middle of snowy
Kansas, I think.
I have no idea. There were mountain tops and snow.
It looked like Utah to me or something.
Or like Montana.
So she was on like the
something.
eastern side of the Rockies, maybe. Or
I don't know. So she hitchhiked.
Anyway.
She
Elvis Presley picks her up.
An Elvis Presley impersonator picks her up.
Who's also headed to Vegas.
Which also, okay, so they go to Vegas and she's like, I'm gonna be a dancer, and he's like, that's bullshit. No, you're not. And it's like, you need to calm down.
But doesn't he say like, oh, I have an uncle who owns a casino?
Yeah, that's right. I'll show
maybe
you.
He can help you out.
And then they get to Vegas, not before she threatens him with the switchblade like 7 times. Because women.
Well, he tries to get kind of handsy with her.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, but no, he doesn't really do anything. So he. Oh. But here's the thing that I thought.
Come sit closer if you want, and then she's like, knife.
Right.
Right. Well, so here's the thing I found ironic. She walks up. I mean, the opening shot is her walking through a parking lot with her suitcase.
Right.
She walks to the side of the road. And she's standing so close to the road. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, dang, these cars are like a foot away. She's like in the road. This truck almost clips her. Ooh. But she's standing in front of a sign that says Las Vegas.
Right.
Miles. And
I was like, I didn't know it snows in Las Vegas.
Yeah. But the guy in the truck says, I'm headed to Vegas. You're in luck. I'm like, how did he know that that's where she was?
I didn't even think about that.
It's called Showgirls, so clearly it said in Vegas. So I guess
these are the things that are important.
The world knows this is where she's. Yeah, I was
just looking at her. It's like, you're heading to Vegas, aren't you? Yeah. I can tell from your fringe jacket.
So they get to Vegas. He leaves her alone with the slot machines. He's like, "Here's $10. I'm going to go talk with my uncle. I'll be right back."
And then she loses track of time because they don't put clocks up in Vegas.
She ends up winning this huge jackpot, and then she wastes it on another machine.
Yeah,
because she
that's
trades
what they
her money
do.
in.
That's what they do.
Yeah,
but and then he leaves with all of her stuff.
Right.
Now here's the thing.
She wanders into the middle of the road and almost gets hit by a car again.
Yeah.
To meet her costumer friend.
She's the most aggressive person ever. It's like if you told her, "Hey, I think is this your wallet?" She'd be like, "Yes." Like
right, exactly. Over the top. But so small pause button. I did read some like trivia because I'm watching the movie like, all right, I gotta dissect this thing, and I'm looking up the trivia about this film.
Right.
And I saw a quote from the director, who, by the way, when he directed this, went under a different name, and I would love to know why that is. I don't know if you know.
It's because, and this is something that I thought directors and writers did when a movie does so poorly, that they go under a pen name to not associate themselves directly with the movie. But the name he went by was Jan Jansen.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I mean, we can assume why, because the movie did not do very well at the bottom. It was critically panned across the board.
So,
he swept the rest. But anyway, what I was gonna say is that he said a quote. He said, "Yeah, this movie, definitely dented my career. It's been something that it's been a little bit tough for me." He goes, "But it destroyed hers."
Yeah, Elizabeth Berkley's. Yeah.
And I never watched Saved by the Bell. Did you guys watch that?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know who she was coming into this, and I guess a lot of people did. So because I was looking at this like, okay, let me take a step away from it and go, maybe she's actually a good actress, just in this bad vehicle and made a horrible career choice and it's just tanked.
That's what I'm wondering.
Her career went in the toilet.
Oh yeah.
And what the director said, he said he feels really bad because he directed her to be that way,
Mhm.
like over the top, really hyper aggressive in all the situations. And I'm like, and he felt guilt about like,
Good.
I think that like it kind of ruined her because she was dropped by her agent when this film came out.
Immediately after.
That was a poor choice.
Yeah, and
God
thankfully
bless
she's
it.
been able to find some work more recently, I would say within maybe the last 6 to 8 years.
Oh,
Well,
really?
guys, let's make a pact right now that if we ever are in a position where we're casting something, we're going to consider her. Okay, so we're going to call her up
and I think
just be
the
like,
reason
hey, I saw Showgirls and I know you're not working. I have an ultra low budget SAG film. Did you want to come on and be an extra? Or like, I feel bad, like, because I
feel like she wanted to shed that Saved by the Bell.
I think that's what it was, like, literally reverse Mickey Mouse. Like,
she was 20 years old when she made Showgirls. So
Yeah.
she was practically a child. Still.
That's insane to me. You couldn't legally drink, and yet you're literally having rampant pool sex. Like, what's happening?
And
Rampant.
I think
That was
that scene. I remember when they went to Kyle MacLachlan's house. I think I reached out and
You
touched Megan.
You're like, I'm so excited for what's about to happen.
Oh, the pool scene. And she's like, what's happening?
Okay, so wait, we need to go back. So she almost gets hit by a car, and then she meets the costumer who becomes her best friend. Did anyone else pick up on like the subtle lesbian, like erotic?
Well, I just assumed that she was gay.
That's what I thought too.
I was like, okay, fine, like, whatever, okay.
Like she leaned on to her, and I'm like, oh wow, all right.
And then she like takes her to go get French fries, and like she
yells, oh my god,
them.
She yells places. I'm like, you need to calm down. If you don't like your burger, just send it back. Like,
and it was very odd. There was a theme in this movie where she's just a jerk to everyone, and everyone wants to help her. I could not. I'm like, okay. Maybe do you remember her name? The roommate or whatever?
Hope.
I thought it was Hope. Hope was the stripper that came into Cheetah's.
Oh, that's right.
The
dumb blonde.
Blanking on her name.
That's right.
But I thought, okay, maybe she's just got a big heart. I mean, she treats her to dinner, but then says move in, which is
right.
Move in with me.
Like, because that's what happens.
Right.
It's Vegas.
Molly. Yes.
It was so odd that she would even help her. I mean, this girl she looked like she's on drugs.
Yeah.
She's like punching cars and like throwing down her basket of fries. Like she's clearly got like a trigger.
And then she's like,
problem.
I'll just live with you for like a couple weeks. And it's like 6 months later. And they're living
like
in
BFFs,
this like.
And she's like doing her nails all cool.
Oh my God, the nails throughout the whole movie.
Which we end up coming back to later.
A couple times.
Which brings up something I wanted to ask you guys about. What's the deal with food in this movie? Did you notice that?
Wait, what do you mean?
In the opening scene, they're like, did you eat the potato chips? I totally ate the potato chips.
they're like brown rice and veggies forever now.
Right.
And she's like angrily eating hamburgers and French fries.
Yeah. And then also too, the
hamburger
dog
in the
food.
car. Yeah. She's like, I've eaten dog food before.
The whole thing with the champagne, it's not champagne. I'm like, then what the fuck are you drinking? Oh my God.
Well, it was weird. You're absolutely right.
I've not even thought. See, this is why we bring guests.
Devouring like that opening scene in where you're talking about. She's like just hungrily eating these potato chips. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. Also, too, I don't know what that means.
They only had a one twin bed.
They both slept in the same bed in like different.
And that weird twin bed. Did you notice that bed?
Yeah, it was like a day bed. Did
she steal that from
like it belonged on a patio?
Yeah.
Or like some 6-year-ol's early like weird.
And like the comforter looked like something from like My Little Pony, but like off-brand. It was so weird.
And then her friend Molly ends up being. It turns out she's the costumer for this Vegas
gorgeous
casino
show.
Wait,
what's the name of it?
It's called
Goddess.
Yeah. So she is the costumer / seamstress, and she's like, "Oh, you should come see the show tonight."
Which also, why was that like the first time in 6 months that she's ever gone? If she had said to her, "I'm a dancer," and she's like, "That's neat." 6 months later, oh, by the way, did you want to come to this show that I'm working on?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And
well, the problem is
she's waiting backstage. She's kind of seeing the whole how everything works, and it's total chaos, but there's like a rhythm to it.
Also, too, you wouldn't want to stitch someone's G-string. Like, she's like, the one really angry African-American woman is like, you need to fix my G-string or my snatch is going to be up all over the place. And she's like, I'm working on it. Trying to stitch up someone's boob or something.
And there's
then,
like monkeys running around. No, that's
a little bit later on. So then they actually like go and do the number, and the main Gina Gershon is like the main principal actress or whatever.
Yes.
And it's like, it's if strippers and musical theater and contemporary dance all had a very odd baby.
Yeah.
That's what this felt like.
There are shows like that in Vegas.
Right.
I've never been to Vegas.
I was
Megan
telling
has
Ben
gone
that there's
once.
like sexy Cirque du Soleil. Where
and
like
part of me is like, is this what Vegas shows are? Like they're these sort of they're not cabarets by any means, because it's all like topless dancing. It's but that brings me to another point of the dancing being really good in this movie. Like
it was insane.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Good. Like
the dancers so athletic.
Awesome. Yeah. But and I'm like, oh, like do shows like this exist? Like, is this a thing?
And also too, like the production value of it was
my
bonkers.
God.
Right.
Like
yeah, there was definitely some money.
The movie's gorgeous.
And
it's shot like pretty well.
Yeah.
The big production of, because there's like, we keep going back to this Vegas show, and there's all these little different vignettes that we keep getting introduced to. There's like the biker version with chains,
right? The BDSM
and
one.
then there's like the prehistoric one,
right?
And then like diamonds are a girl's best friend.
I have to say, I personally think that Goddess is just different dance exhibitions of fetishes. That's what I think it is.
It almost, well, I mean, the motorcycle one especially was very.
But like the first one is like prehistoric, and then it's like, you know, at any rate. So she goes and sees this, and then she's like,
she goes backstage,
and there's kind of like a little bit of a hint of like who she could potentially be and she could meet, and then she's like, well, I have to get to work, and work is
we haven't strip club, and we haven't seen her work yet, right?
No,
we
haven't. We've seen her watch from the audience and like mimic the stuff that they're doing,
which was weird. Like that. Okay, from a director's standpoint, at that point, I'm like, I see what they're trying to do, but I don't know what this girl wants.
Right.
I have no idea. She has no goal. She's trying to get to Vegas. We're never told why.
It's sort of like,
she's like, I want to be a dancer.
It's like Rey in the Star Wars trilogy, where
I thought you were going to say Ray as in Ray Charles, and I was
it makes me think of Ray Charles.
I don't think that's the same.
Georgia on my mind. Rey in the new Star Wars trilogy is like the luckiest person in the galaxy in that she's not really focused, but she just happens to be in the right place at the right time.
That's kind of this, like,
and going back to like, people are just wanting to help her for some reason,
right?
Yeah,
and Carol Connors, where we eventually get to, other than Carol Connors, Gina Gershon having some sort of crush on Nomi, gets her this part in this show eventually.
So let's actually tie that back in with the plot. So where we're at right now. Yes. So she's at the strip club. She's doing her job.
She disinfects the poles with her mouth.
Oh my God. That's when I lost it.
COVID pole.
When I fucking lost it. As soon as her hand went down her pants, I just went, whoa! Like, I was like, what movie is this? And Ben said, that's NC-17. I was like, this is NC-17?
I totally forgot to tell her before we started watching.
Like, oh, by the way. I was like, oh my God. And then like her stripping, like, I'm used to seeing the lazy ass, I think I'll climb a pole stripping. It's like,
like the Tuesdays at 11 a.m.
Yeah, it's like I had two Coke, but I also am really tired. Like, where it's like I'm climbing and I'm going to do a spin thing, but then I'm going to kind of slump down. That's what I'm used to seeing. Hers was like, I'm on a shit ton of cocaine and a Red Bull, plus someone just told me that I look like dog shit, and I'm going to take it out on this pole, and you're going to deal with it. Like, I'm surprised she didn't angrily just pee on everyone. Like, she was so...
Angry peeing.
Like, she's just... like, she was so intense. And then while that's happening, Gina Gershon and
Kyle MacLachlan
walk in. And
that's right.
They're watching her. And basically, you're kind of told that there's, because we have this new girl,
they're watching her dance. They're just like,
comes in and is like, what do I do? And he's like, well, if they pay you money, you go do a lap dance. If they pay you a lot of money, then they can't touch you unless they pay you a lot of money. Then they can touch you.
So they pay her $500
for a
private lap dance
for the two of them,
which is weird. And then we get the lap dance scene,
which is
yeah. So Gina Gershon.
Yeah.
What's up with her?
I found this. I know. Well, I didn't want to I didn't want to be mean. But I tell you what was interesting about her is I was like, why do I know who Gina Gershon is?
Because
that was the one that really, because I mean, there is the movie, but why do I know her name? And I started looking through her IMDb going, I have not seen a single movie, but I know who she is. Why do I know who this person is? And her entire performance in this is basically like the Angelina Jolie school of acting, where it's every shot looks like she's having sex.
Yes.
So and it's all a pose every time. It was so weird. Even when she's in the background, they would stagger the actors, and then they'd put Gina Gershon back there, and she would like roll a shoulder and then like push her pelvis forward a little bit. And then, like, is she giving a blowjob or
always trying to like? And interestingly enough, Angelina Jolie was considered for the part.
Oh yeah,
they wanted Angelina Jolie and Drew Barrymore.
Oh no!
Charlize Theron.
And Charlize Theron was so close to actually being in this movie. Thank the risen Jesus that she didn't. Or maybe she could have walked away from it. I don't think she could have though. Yeah.
Anyways.
Yes.
So there's this private dance and Nomi humps. What's his name?
Kyle MacLachlan.
I keep calling him Kevin.
Dune.
Humps Dune until he paints the inside of his pants. And
Crystal really enjoys it.
And then I don't know.
The next day, I think, is when she gets an audition for Goddess.
And it's like pretty obvious that the gal, Gina Gershon, wants her to come and audition.
But then we're introduced to the whole production team. And everyone on the production team is a bag of crap.
Love the ginger guy. I am obsessed.
When she started doing the thrust.
Oh my God.
Like she's like, I was like, whoa!
She's nowhere
really doing what you're telling her to do.
Kind
How
of
much fire do you want her to go?
Music director / assistant.
But he had like Cosby sweaters on.
Yeah, and he would be like, "All right, we're gonna take that for him," and like he seemed more like a a gopher, like an assistant guy. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's like, "Stop!" Like just fucking came out of nowhere. And I know that I've seen him from something, but I can't remember what it is. Like,
he's got that face.
5 and Under type roles or something.
He's like he's one of those guys that plays the tech on something. Or
yeah, exactly. And it's like, I knew him like specifically, I think that he might have played literally a crew member on a movie about a movie, like something like that.
So we meet the whole production team.
So the production team's
Everyone
insane,
is awful.
and the audition is so bizarre. Like they do the dance and stuff like that, and Nomi can keep up. Like,
and again, it's a caricature of a person.
Yes.
The guy in charge. I'm a dick, and I'm gonna be a dick. Did you go to school? We don't want school people. You got nice boobies. You stay.
Yeah, you stay. Right. Here's some ice cubes. Like, and do you think, because again, it's Paul Verhoeven, we've seen Starship Troopers, we've seen RoboCop. Do you think that was on purpose? Because there are themes in that movie that are so borderline. I mean, they are satirical, almost bordering on caricature. And I'm wondering if that's the whole point of this movie, is not only like hubris, but also like it's not exhibitionism. It's
excessive.
It's excessive to the point where it becomes satire.
Right.
And like you said, everyone is so over the top. Everyone is so one note.
Like that's the thing. It'd be one thing if they were doing it knowing that they were being ridiculous, but this had so much earnest to it that I was just like, it's not good.
Yeah.
And so, so she auditions. She's basically the last girl standing. And then he's like, why are your nipples not hard? I'm hard. Why aren't you hard? And he's like,
somebody wrote that. Somebody wrote that line
on your nips. And then she won't do it. And so then she angry. That's the thing.
Storms
Anytime if someone says something that she doesn't like, she storms off and she spots.
She spots her.
She spots her exit.
That's right. She does.
She does. It's like if she's going that way, she's like, oh, like it just, you can tell she's a dancer because she spots her angry exit.
I'm going to start doing that. Like just when
we're all going to hurt ourselves if we
we're all going to get whiplash. It's like, wait a minute.
Neck.
You watched Showgirls recently?
I did. You have Showgirls neck?
Yeah. Do you have Showgirls
we can
neck?
help.
We can help.
Well, it may help to know that the writer it was Basic Instinct, but he also did Sliver.
He did do Sliver, really?
Yeah, Basic Instinct too. And did he write Fatal Attraction as well?
That would not.
I didn't see Fatal Attraction on there.
I haven't seen Fatal Attraction, but that would not surprise me.
But Fatal Attraction's amazing.
But every single, maybe it's not that one, but every single, all his movies are like this, like very
like some sort of
sexual
thriller or drama or something like that. Yeah.
And all his movies to me are like fantasies of what he wishes women are like. That's how my take on it.
Exactly. That's what I think it is.
I don't know if I drew that from this movie because it seemed like
you didn't.
It seemed like he wanted to show us that everyone in Las Vegas is awful, like, and what these women go through is truly horrible. But even the guys are pieces of crap as well. Like, I'm like, does this guy just hate humanity? Like, and maybe his time in Las Vegas, because they interviewed about 100 different, I think, strippers or producers, professionals who worked in Las Vegas,
and this is what
they came away with. And so I didn't know if it was like a study on like, look at the abuse that these women go through, look how awful these men are, but also like look how awful
they took a documentary and tried to make it into a
they did a reverse Christopher Guest.
Yes.
They didn't make it funny or heartfelt or enjoyable. They just made you hate everybody.
Right.
Or Catherine O'Hara in this movie. It probably would have lifted it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And Eugene Levy. We needed you.
That would have been amazing.
And it was so, well, I know we're not to this plot point, but the guy that runs the first job that she's got, the guy from Goonies, is just like the guy who runs the show for the new show that she
gets. Like the producer.
They're the same person.
Which, okay, I think
supposed to.
Yeah, I think we can jump though to that though, because there was also a weird thing. So effectively, she doesn't get it, but then she does get it because we're pretty sure that Gina Gershon's character like wants to fuck her, and so she's like, just give her the job.
Right. So she gets the job,
but not before there's this random ass interaction with the black dancer guy.
Yeah, so that was really weird. By the way, that
came out of nowhere, and it didn't go anywhere either. There was nothing to it.
Yeah. But he is the guy from Speed. So
he is the guy from Speed.
Yeah, he's the guy that Keanu Reeves steals the car from.
That's right.
Need to borrow your phone. Take the phone.
So that's what happened to him. They took his car, and he lost all of his money, so he moved to Vegas.
He caught a bus.
Keanu Reeves steals his car. Then he goes on vacation, and Sandra Bullock needs, they take his boat again because he's in Speed too.
So then at that point, he's totally bankrupt, and he's like, I have to go to Vegas.
He can't win. He's the music man. He's the music man in Speed. Yeah. That's what his license plate says.
From town to town. So he apparently writes a mixtape.
He writes a mixtape.
Sorry, not writes a mixtape. He has a mixtape where he's written.
That'll get him.
Has he written a song or like choreographed a dance?
Choreographed a dance for her, which I'm sorry, I can't tell if he actually did and like loved her and had this weird distance, or if it was just a pickup line.
It was confusing.
But again, why? He kicks him in the balls in the first time she meets him.
Yes.
And for no reason.
Fired.
Follows her
twice.
Fired. They go to jail. She's like a jerk to him. He bails her out. He basically flips him off. Let's get a cup of coffee. She gives him a quarter, says, go get one yourself or something. I'm like, why is he into her? I didn't get the.
I think he just wanted to sleep with her because everyone in this movie wants to sleep with Nomi.
And then they have that dance, and then I'm sorry, like they go to his place for some reason, and she's like, "You really want to teach me how to dance? You really think I have potential?" And then they
you got potential.
They dance, but it's like, no, I got it. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, like do all these turns, but then immediately it turns into dry humping. Like I'm like,
exactly.
It turns into sex, which I think was his goal all along.
And then I'm sorry, like puts his hands down her pants, and she's like, I'm on my period. He's like, oh no.
Yeah, he's like rubbing his fingers afterwards. And I'm like, that we didn't need to know that.
And she's like, you can fuck me when you love me. And I'm like, I don't know what's
And then
happening.
it turns out like he ends up betting the other stripper who happened to come in on
at
Cheetah's, like
time.
now he's sleeping with Hope. So he went back to the strip club.
Yeah.
The same one.
And picked up a
He
different
just picked
girl.
up a different stripper to bring back
But he's
home.
like, oh, so then when she goes to tell him, I got into Goddess, Hope's in the back, and it's like, are you coming back to bed? And she's like, what the fuck? And he's like, well, we weren't tied. There were no ties.
Right.
I'm like, you were a dick to him. What do you expect? Like,
and you didn't even like have like sex with each other to begin with.
No.
And like, were you honestly trying to get a relationship with this? Like, I don't know what she wants. I don't know what he wanted.
I don't know what she wants. So then,
I tell you, I know what she wants because you remember when they go to his place, she's eating a hamburger.
Oh, she just wants
racing down the alleyways.
She's hungry.
Chowing,
Yeah,
like
aggressively
angrily eating this hamburger.
Tearing this
Just
thing
like,
apart.
and I think throwing French fries, right?
All she wants is food. Yeah.
oh my
She's
God, you
just
guys,
really
she
hungry.
just wants food.
Yeah.
What's the deal with the French fries and the hamburger? And because in her redemptive moment, quote redemptive moment, what's she doing? She's sitting on a rooftop in Vegas, overlooking the Strip, eating
a hamburger.
It's like, what's the deal with the hamburgers?
Oh my
What
God.
is this movie? Like that's all. The only thing I know that she loves.
It's like, it's like Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11. He's constantly eating.
Yeah. Like it reminded me of a Michael Bay moment. Like there's this, and it's this elegant
like
dolly move pushing into her. You see like the flamingo logo. Yeah, it's just like Bad Boys, like dun with this dun like Top Gun music pushing in. It's like,
oh my gosh.
America.
So
what is?
And I think again maybe that was one of the themes that they just totally missed the mark on. Like we wanted to show like exploitative America for what it was, and maybe that shot sort of like encompassed everything they were trying to do but failed miserably.
So she gets
now she's in the
Goddess, and they're like, you can do what you need to do. The only rule is you can never go on stage crying,
and you can also
which made no
one ever did. It wasn't like. It's like, it's tough back there and people are exhausted, but I don't understand why you said that. Like, don't. What? I don't know.
Yeah, that's also, and no one ever does.
No one ever does ever until like we get to the point where there's like sabotage.
Well, somebody breaks their knee on stage, then they cry. But
like
as far as like
with jewels, where we get this great insert shot of like jewels
slow motion.
Which also, I'm sorry, as a dancer, there is no fucking way she could have stored that anywhere on her costume.
She wasn't wearing anything.
And she was like dancing and stuff and like reaching out. So where did she pop them out of her wrist?
She had them in her mouth. Like
what?
Yeah, apparently.
That I will buy that. I would buy that.
If she actually spit them out of her mouth, that would have been better.
Which also too, then like when she goes to spill it and then Nomi sees it, she's like, oh my God. I'm like, you don't fucking care. Why do you all of a sudden care about this cunt?
This isn't your family.
Like, what? Right. Why do you care all of a sudden? And she's like, I have to help you.
Because Nomi's a good person.
No, here's the thing. I just want to say this. Her name says everything about her. If you start talking, you're like, well, I had this thing going on. She goes, no, me. So
me.
and Malone is her last name, so it's like no me alone. Essentially, which was definitely on purpose.
That was on purpose. I think I did even read that.
Totally on purpose.
That it was on purpose.
And also her name, we end up finding out her real name at the end of the movie is actually said
Pollyanna.
Yeah, Pollyanna, where he makes the joke and she's like, "What did you call me?" And he's like, "Oh, you're standing here looking like Pollyanna."
Oh, I didn't even catch
Pollyanna
that.
from the
That's
prairie.
right.
Or like, are you lost? Yeah.
Oh,
and that's another
I thought she
thing
was just offended. I didn't catch that at all.
That we'll get to later. So she's in the show.
Yes.
She's going through the motions.
Yes.
She and Crystal kind of have a thing, but then not really. And then she ends up like somehow screwing Kyle MacLachlan, and they get together.
No, because you're forgetting. So the understudy, she gets hurt.
Understudy.
So the understudy gets hurt. That's the bead thing that we were talking
right.
about. Which
so
she gets hurt because she swore at the other dancers' kids and said, "Shut the fuck up" backstage. Which I don't understand how those children were so pristine. Like it was such an.
And
I was
why are
like,
they backstage at a topless Vegas show?
Right, like
that was one of those moments in the movie where I'm like,
what?
How did the Pleasantville kids show up in Showgirls?
How did these acting kids' parents get approval
Yeah.
for them to be in this movie. Like,
Right.
There's just naked
Titties
people everywhere, right?
And so she like
Best day of that
basically
little boy's
decides
life.
to like
She's like, I don't care.
She's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get my revenge, but doesn't say it out loud. It's just implied. So she, during this dance move, does the bead thing, and then the guy that's carrying the girl that swore at her kids, the guy slips on it, she falls and like breaks her knee or her something, I don't know.
Knee. It was her
So
knee.
then they need a different understudy, and there's like 2 or 3 people, one of whom, Nomi, is being considered for the part.
Yes.
So that's where we come in at.
But even that whole plot point is so stupid because like she gets it, but then she doesn't get it, and then it's the same thing with her getting the role in the show.
Right.
Like it's confirmed because Kyle MacLachlan's like, you got it, and she's like, oh my god, and she freaks out. And then all of a sudden Gina Gershon is like, oh, sorry, just kidding.
Right.
And then how does she get it back? Like, how does she get confirmed from the understudy after she gets it, then doesn't?
Oh, she doesn't get it back, does she? Because
no, she doesn't. And then they just are like, well, she never's missed a show, so I don't think we have to worry about it right now.
She sabotages.
And then she pushes her down the fucking stairs.
Her ass down the stairs. But this is after
your sex scene in the pool.
Yeah, after the BDSM portion of Goddess, where they're like,
and this is also after the pool.
Oh, is it after the pool?
It's after the pool.
So Nomi and Kyle MacLachlan are already like having sex. We really need to talk about the pool scene.
I'm sorry. So
we have to stop right
lay
now
it down so that people know. At the end of the day, this is just 2 people having sex in a pool. That's all it is.
Is it?
That's what it is. That's what they are. But they're doing it on crack cocaine.
It looked like it hurt. It looked like she was going to drown.
Like, because she's sitting on him, and they're in the water.
She's against the wall.
She's like laid down backwards, like writhing
and
in
she goes
the water,
under
and
the
she
water.
like dips down. If you took a pool noodle and slapped it on the water over and over again.
If for some reason we ever watch this again, I'm only going to look at Kyle MacLachlan's face just to see what is going through his mind.
He looks concerned. He looks concerned for her well-being.
And this is a guy that's worked with
Twin Peaks man. Can I think of his name?
Why am I blanking on his name? But he's in Blue Velvet. Like
he's done Blue Velvet. He was in Dune. Like he's been in 2 different series of Twin Peaks. Like he knows weird, But for whatever reason, this was a scene where I'm watching it and I'm like, Kyle MacLachlan does not want to be here right now.
No,
he
wishes
that he could be anywhere else in the galaxy other than doing what he is doing right now.
Right.
The
way that it works is that they have sex, and then the next morning he's like, oh, there's an audition for the understudy part today. Oh. And she's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go. Like
after she does cocaine.
Yes.
She starts doing coke. But again, we still don't know at this point. We don't know what she wants. We still don't know what she wants.
Right.
No.
I don't even know this. And actually, weirdly, that is the first sex scene in the whole movie.
Is it really?
I think it might be the only time anyone has sex in the film.
Except for the rape scene.
Except for the rape scene.
The rape.
Which I thought very ironic in a film like this. I wouldn't even qualify it as a sex scene. There's like hints of sex. There's the lap dance. But as far as an actual sex scene, that's the only one, I think.
Which I have to say, it was so disturbing just to see her hand go down and be like, oh, I am putting you in now. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to be here.
She like goes down on him underwater.
She goes down on him underwater.
I don't think you can do.
I screamed.
I'm not trying to like break down.
It's not a snorkel.
I'm like,
it's not a snorkel.
You're not gonna get air from that.
It's just chlorine. That's all you're gonna.
You're gonna drown. It's more liquid. Come up for air.
Someone say cut. Like it's one of those scenes that stresses you out so much.
So then she auditions.
Okay, so she auditions.
And then they say, you got it. And then she didn't get it because the Gina Gershon is like, well, she's a little too comfortable. And then
she's like, you want to pay my nails, darling? Or some shit
like there's
that.
like the whole thing about the nails or whatever. And
it's
then
all a power trip with Gina Gershon.
Like, he says to her, though, Twin Peaks guy says, are you just mad that I got to her first? Like, which I thought they were in a relationship, but were they just like...
not only were they in a relationship, but he seemed like to genuinely be in love with her.
Yeah.
He's like
That's
bringing
the
her
part.
flowers and all
Yeah,
this
he like was
stuff,
just
and they're like
her
all over each other.
and was never into Nomi.
No, and there was like this whole
Like-
thing too about like going to the boat show or whatever the fuck that was.
What was that was with that actor.
Yeah.
I've seen him before.
It was like, oh yeah,
Gulping
go.
his whiskey that
Right. We'll have fun. We'll all sing. You'll sing and then I'll sing and we'll all do some singing.
There was an amazing shot of him. I swear this had to be a director thing where he says something like, "You'll come to the boat show and we'll sing." He does this weird, like, I'm like, that's got to be this direction of like take a giant gulp right on top of the line.
Huge gulp.
It was such a weird.
God.
Do you want to say something about the pool scene before we get too far past it? Is that like I'm looking at it going, okay, clearly they're making this film to be, erotic and light soft porn or whatever you want to say. So it's like you got to do that, and you got to for all the people who are into that. And all I could think of when I'm watching the pool is I thought she got headaches when she drank champagne. That's what I was thinking about. Because Gina Gershon, when they remember they go out to lunch, she's like, I don't like champagne. It gives me headaches.
Gives me headaches.
Glug.
Like glug, 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 glug.
Now he's pouring it all over her.
I'm like, no.
Like,
She'll get a headache.
I thought you got headaches. I call consistency fail.
But yeah, the whole sex scene, because it's like, and weirdly to me, the sex scene was the least sexy thing in the movie.
Yeah.
Because it was like, well, if you're gonna do a movie like this, like you would think the sex scene would be even exponentially hotter.
Right.
It just was kind of this.
It was
kind
awkward.
of a boring, and then she lays backwards into the waterfall that's pounding her in the face, which was like,
it's like you're getting waterboarded.
What?
What?
Like, have you ever been hit in the face with a warm wave and then wanted to be just pounded furiously? Me too. Like, what
happens? If I had a quarter.
God. So, okay. So that happens. And then what?
So Gina Gershon is playing this whole power trip of like, you didn't get the understudy, but you can do my nails. And nobody's like, that's it. And so she pushes Gina Gershon down the stairs as they're all exiting from the scene.
Right. So
after the BDSM sort of showcase where Gina Gershon, they're like dancing together as part of the show. But Gina Gershon's like pushing her on the ground and like being super rough with her.
I will say I kind of like that scene.
I mean, like, again,
that was like, okay, this is kind of cool because they're like duking it out on the stage with
dancing. Also, too, motorcycles.
There was an actual motorcycle on
motorcycles
stage.
all over the stage.
They're like being like driven around
over
like,
on
the
gaff.
second.
Yeah,
it was one of the, to me, like probably where all the pieces came together. Like just, it was kind of, if all the rest of the movie had been good, that would have been a cool scene.
Right.
Because they're like working it into their dance moves. These two rivals
are like butting heads,
falling and coming up, and it was increasing the steaminess of it. What I thought they were going to go like, oh, we need to make both of you the star. That's what I thought they were going to do because of
a Chicago type of a thing.
Yeah, I kind of wish
that would have been interesting.
But no,
but they didn't do that.
We've got to be terrible people.
So they
Gina Gershon gets pushed down the stairs. She's hospitalized for months, and then do they audition again for the lead role?
No, they effectively say, "Well, we'll just go dark," and they're like, "No, we can't go dark. Let's get someone in here. We'll do Liza Minnelli. We'll come in." I wanted it to be Liza Minnelli. Liza Minnelli coming in and trying to do like Fosse around all these naked. Like people are running around in see-through leotards. She's like, Navy is the new
red is the new navy blue.
Right, that's what it is.
Fuck.
They should have had that. They should have had the older lady from
the
joint. Yeah, what?
I'm like, I'm convinced that all of her clothes do that. That she like has hired someone to specifically engineer all of her clothes to do that, even her pajamas.
With her, we have to talk about the scene where they come to the show and they see her backstage, and it's like this weird scene where it's like the manager from the strip club and she comes and sees the show.
Come to visit Goddess.
It's this weird sort of parental,
the guy from Goonies.
It tugs on your heartstrings a little bit where they come and they're like, and then he has the line, and I'm so sorry that this is such a crass line, but somebody wrote this where they're on their way out and he turns back to Nomi and he says, Must be weird not have anybody come on you. And then they just
and
I'm like,
he walks away.
who wrote this line?
And then she's not offended by that. She's just like,
nah, I think I'll keep him.
Like,
like, what is this? It's this weird, like, parental moment where she's like, oh my God, it's so good to see you guys. Hey, you did good, kid. Look how far you've come. You're
and then he
up in the lights of
strokes her
Vegas.
cheek and stuff, and she's like,
oh,
like for a second you're like, is this dad? Or,
and then he says this.
That was.
Line. And I'm like, what? Who wrote?
Was that an insult? Or was it a?
I know. Like, I don't. Okay,
and what do you say to that?
All right. So then
she doesn't get angry. She gets angry at everything but that.
Right. She gets mad at people asking where you come from. She's like, places. But when someone says that people don't come all over you, she's like, yeah, it's a shame. Like,
yeah,
what the fuck?
That's good. Yeah. It's a plus. Even though they do.
Last night. Like, what? I don't understand.
God.
So, okay.
Anyways.
So now she is goddess. They basically say
yes.
she can do the role. She is goddess. And then they're going to throw this big party for her. And Arthur, long hair, mixed singer, or whatever.
White Jesus magician shows up.
Let's just say this party, like, because had that character been mentioned prior to that point?
Yes,
so it's like 15 minutes into the movie
where it's like, oh my God, this singer's coming to town. Oh, he's so dreamy.
Yeah, where Molly like sees his poster. I think it's after she dressed and they're on their way back to Versace, excuse me. Where they're on their way back to the car and they see the poster. Andrew Carver is his name, I think. And Molly's like, oh my God, he's coming here. He's such a dream and blah, blah, blah. And then like, he's just totally forgotten.
Right. And then
I totally missed that.
Shows up
for this.
And again, we're introduced to another guy who is just a dirtbag.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
Molly has like such this special place because he's a magician, right? Does he do a magic show?
I don't know. Here's where I was thrown because they put his name out. I didn't remember him being mentioned, and I thought they were saying Andrew McCarthy. And I'm thinking, really, the guy from Less Than Zero is coming? Was he that big of a star in the 90s? I don't even remember.
Yeah, we got Andrew McCarthy.
We got Andrew McCarthy coming.
So I'm like, okay, wow, I guess he plays himself in this movie. And then the other guy shows up, I'm like,
and then
it's not him.
He like hits on Nomi. He's like, hey, I like your ass. You should call me. And she's like,
here's my friend.
Also, right. Okay. Before that.
On a silver fucking platter.
Molly knows that Nomi pushed Crystal down the stairs.
Yeah.
And so Nomi and Molly are kind of on the outs, even though they're still living together in this
like,
trailer for some reason.
Come to my party. You're going to have such a good time. She's
Molly,
like,
you have to be
no,
there. She's
I'm
like,
not I know what's wrong. And I know what you did. And
Nomi, you're a horrible person.
Right.
And then
let's go party.
Molly shows up at the party
and
anyway.
She's like,
it was super weird.
Why?
It was so weird.
Like,
what were you going to say?
The milk out of the nose moment was the firecracker, the spelling of her name in Fireworks.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Where it was like, what did it was Nomi, what's her name?
Like, Nomi Malone.
And it says goddess under it. But the way it was shot, it was at this weird angle, and the sound design was like, boo, tick, tick, tick. Almost like you hear a womp, womp, womp. Like nobody cheers. It was like this, what? And my mind immediately went to, so when did they, I guess when she fell down the stairs, made the call to say, okay, we need this design of fireworks to put it at this party because she's going to be amazing. We already know this.
You know who made that call? The redheaded assistant.
That's right. The ginger man.
The Cosby sweater.
The ginger knew.
Assistant.
The ginger Cosby
put it in
sweater.
fireworks. We're going to light it off as the climax of the party.
Yep.
It was.
That's how they used to announce like who won the presidency in the 1800s. That's when those were used last, and they have one at this party. And I'm like, this thing is 200 years old.
Sure,
anyway.
It's Vegas. It's fine.
So Molly shows up at the party for some stupid reason,
and then after the guy says like, "I like your ass," she's like, "No,
here's my friend. Let me
right.
her up on a platter to you."
So then
even though I know you're a dirtbag because of what you just said to me.
Just so out of left field, they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go up here and like kiss and chat and stuff," and just kidding, we're gonna gang rape you. Like,
there's no reason for that to happen out of nowhere.
That actually really disturbed me because it was like
really did.
When it first started at the very, very early stages of it, when I'm like, oh God, he's gonna rape her. I was like, well, why would he rape her? She's
Why?
clearly, she would have had sex with him.
Yeah.
She was already there. All right, hey.
Yeah.
They're up by themselves in a bedroom.
Yeah. It was
Get it
just
on.
because that there were 2 other people, and she's like, what? And he's like, it's a party.
Yeah.
Dude, get your dick out and rape her.
He like punches her in the face. Like, it's really violent. Like not just Paul Verhoeven violent, but again, the fact that it just happens for no reason. And the angle, too,
for the shot of, like, up above her and, like, her crying and bleeding.
And he's licking the blood off her lips.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, ow.
Blood off of her face.
I couldn't watch. At that point, I had to.
I actually kind of looked away. Yeah, I did too.
It was one of those scenes that
like, that's a massive trigger warning.
I'm watching and I'm just like, why is this happening?
I don't know.
And
like,
again,
to prove that nothing good happens to anyone in Vegas.
It's true, maybe. And again, tying back into the theme where the guy who wrote this, I'm like, does he just hate everyone, or does everything in Vegas?
See, and again, this is where I said this was saying like that. There's all this like there's the sexual tension between the 2 women, the sexual stuff with the men, there's sexual stuff in the pool, there's sexual stuff on stage, there's this, and I'm like, this, I hate to say this, but a rape scene and stuff like that is a sexual fantasy for some people.
Sure.
So I think that, in my opinion, that this was, like you said, Jason, an opportunity for this guy to write out all these sexual fantasies that either he wants and identifies with, or he knows other people identify with. I think that's literally the only reason that he wrote this, and then decided the through line was dancing. Like,
I guess.
Let's not have drugs. Let's not have, like, trafficking.
Yeah.
Let's do some lyrical dancing. Let's make that the through line.
So Molly makes it downstairs. Party's over, clearly. Molly ends up in the hospital.
Right.
And this, in the last 20 minutes of the movie, is when we find out who Nomi is.
Yes.
In the final 20 minutes of this movie.
No, we also have her go and kick the guy's ass.
Right, but before then, Kyle MacLachlan has, like, his little dossier of, like...
your parents did this.
Yeah, your dad killed your mom, and then he killed himself. You've been hooking since you were, 14.
Right.
You have a charge of assault and battery, I think, because of your switchblade.
And then also, like, the cocaine or something.
Yeah, so she's been a prostitute for a very long time, and sort of like what you were saying of, like, why does she go to Vegas to be a dancer?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, that big reveal was like, okay, and?
Exactly!
So what's, like, is he surprised? Like, I don't think there's a single one of these dancers who hasn't had a background like that.
Right, and it's like, why do you care?
Yeah, why is this a big deal to you?
Yeah.
And she, like, spits in his face because he's just like, oh, you're fantastic at having sex and whatever. And he's like, I meant that as a compliment.
She's like, what did she say? She's like, we have to do something about fucking...
Oh, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do anything about Andrew Carver.
Like, no, he's part of the team.
He's part of the team.
Yeah. Why is he part of the team? I didn't get that.
What team? Like, whose team is he on?
I'm assuming it's one of those things where it's like producers have multiple different shows that they pay for. And so maybe he is a part of what the producers
of
pay
what
for, like his show
does as far as like him producing.
He produces Goddess. Shows. He produces this guy is a singer. He produces da 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 da.
I really wish he were a magician though.
I do.
I don't know why.
I will say I do think if they were going to put that in there, which I don't think it didn't need it.
No,
should have put it earlier.
Yeah,
like the opening scene,
much earlier,
like
instead of at the end of the movie. So she goes full vigilante mode.
Yeah, that
weirdly.
Was insane.
And she's like doing whip turns. She's doing head turns.
She's like turning and then kicking the guy.
Which also too, turning and kicking with spiked heels, she killed him.
Almost like an episode of Alias.
Yeah, he's dead.
1000% she killed him.
Yeah.
Like, and I actually think that's why she left, because she killed him.
Oh, like she's wanted for murder.
Like she's going to be wanted for murder. So she goes back to the hospital. She gives her friend a stuffed animal and says, I kicked his ass.
Bye.
Not good luck getting home on your trailer park.
Abandons her.
Leaves her
there, but not before she goes to see her quasi lesbian friend.
Oh, what the shit!
And we have no resolution to that either. We have no why. Like Crystal's like, oh, how do you think I got my first lead role? I had to shove someone down the stairs too, darling. And we're just like, okay, so you're both.
Also, too, she said that she's from Texas. I saw no Texas accent. There was nothing. She's like, just adding darling at the end is all she did.
And like
it came in every once in a while.
He gives her hat, and they say bye, and Crystal's crying for some reason. Like, why is she crying that Nomi's leaving? Like, the two of you, I don't believe that you loved each other for a second.
These people need help.
They need a lot of help.
So I know I don't normally talk about mental wellness on this podcast.
Especially during this pandemic, it's important.
Like, y'all, you need to go see someone. Y'all need to go see somebody.
And we weren't as far along in mental health as we are now.
Right.
25 years ago.
Dang. So then we end the movie with her hitching a ride with the same guy that brought her in.
Just happens to get picked up.
Which also, too, I don't think he meant to steal her suitcase. I think he was just stupid.
I guess. Why would he give her $10?
Yeah.
I mean, like, what would have been in that suitcase? Gold? Like, it's clothes and some toothpaste.
Like, remember where you picked her up from.
Right.
Like, she probably don't got a lot.
That was such a bizarre end, because it was like, okay, so she leaves her friend, who clearly, like, in a time when her friend helped her out when she moved to Vegas, needed a place to stay. She really should have stayed and helped her, because she can't work.
Right.
While she does the show. And okay, so she's going to abandon her. She has no car. Isn't she a big success?
Yeah,
like,
doesn't she have all this money?
Why is she hitchhiking? Yeah, she's like on a billboard right there. So you're getting money. So why is she hitchhiking? I guess she's going to LA because there's a big LA sign.
Yeah. Right. So then does she want to be an actor?
I guess. I don't know. It was so weird.
I think they had sequels on the mind. I think they were like, oh, now Nomi's going to LA. Watch out, Los Angeles.
She wants to be a big actress.
They did do a sequel. They had that in mind.
They did?
There's a Showgirls 2.
There is a Showgirls 2.
Written by the same guy.
Yeah. And what is it called? It's
like Last Hope or Hope Floats or something.
Pennies from Heaven.
Oh, Pennies from Heaven.
It has 1.6 stars out of 10. It's not rated.
What's the plot?
The same guy, Glenn Plummer, who plays like the black guy who plays the choreographer who's trying to sleep with her. Greg Travis, who plays the slimy guy who eats his champagne.
Oh my God! Wait. Oh my God! Oh no! Wait, what's the plot? What's the plot?
Las Vegas stripper Penny Slot.
Oh no!
Wow.
Sets out on an adventure to become the star dancer on a dance television show. With stars in her eyes, she tries to find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but instead finds danger in a town more wicked than Sin City, etc. It goes on.
Her name is Penny Slot.
Ends with, how bad do you want it?
We have to watch this movie.
Oh no, I don't. Is it NC-17?
No, it's not rated, so it could be.
That's a safe bet. I'm sure it's.
And that is Showgirls. That is Showgirls. Jason, like what did you feel after you watched this movie? Like,
because we're gonna go into trivia. Well, let's do trivia first. Let's stick to the stick.
I'm really excited to not only hear how you felt, but let's maybe get into some trivia. That might clue people in as to why this movie was made. So let's cue that trivia music. When the film swept the 16th annual Razzie Awards, Paul Verhoeven turned up in person to accept the award. He's the first director in history of the Razzies to do so.
That's amazing.
I read that, yeah.
Well done.
Elizabeth Berkley was paid only $100,000 for playing the lead in this movie. When a special VIP, $45 million budget.
I wish it was stronger.
$45 million budget, and she got $100,000 to play this part.
The writer got $2 million as an advance for this movie.
Fuck my life.
That is insane.
Plus another 1.8, I think, after completion.
You guys, I'm telling you, we need to hire her. We need to write a show, not this, and hire her. This is extremely important.
When a special VIP edition boxed set was released in 2004, Elizabeth Berkley requested $2,500 to be interviewed, and they declined every single one. Kyle MacLachlan actually sat through the entire premiere, and he was just completely horrified. Like, he has like this huge thing about it being inadvertently funny. So it found its place eventually. It provides entertainment, though not in the way I think it was originally intended.
It's like a cult classic.
He thinks it was maybe the wrong material with the wrong director and the wrong cast. So basically from the ground up, it was all just a bad idea. And the fact that it didn't derail his career really is pretty fascinating.
That's the thing too for me that makes me, I don't know.
He was already pretty established going in.
He had some big hits.
He was pretty established.
Yeah.
I mean, well, she'd done television at that point, but Kyle MacLachlan had been acting for a long time.
Kyle's career. But all his movies are weird. So
yeah. So maybe they're just like, oh, he did another weird movie, right?
Yeah, he fits in with. Why is it that I'm blanking on his name?
It's not David Fincher. It's
David. Come on, brain.
What is wrong with us? I know. Hang on.
I never know. I'm just always content to not know because that takes so much pressure off.
Eraserhead. And
I'm like, it's just
David Lynch.
Fucking what's his name?
David Lynch.
David Lynch. Why can we not think of David Lynch?
Yes.
So yeah, he sat through the whole thing and he was just like, I think it was just the wrong place, the wrong time, the wrong people.
Wrong movie.
But as Jason mentioned, Pamela Anderson, Angelina Jolie, Vanessa Marcil, Denise Richards, and Charlize Theron auditioned for the role. Richards would be cast in Paul Verhoeven's next movie, which was Starship Troopers. The only time the actresses complained that they felt uncomfortable was during the scenes with the monkeys, because the monkeys constantly stared at their boobs. And as of 2009, Showgirls
it's okay for children to stare at your boobs.
Right? Yeah,
totally
okay.
That's where I draw the line. Everybody else doing on set.
It's totally okay for us to have kids back here, but as of 2009, Showgirls is the highest-grossing NC-17 movie of all time. And is the only NC-17 film to ever be given a wide distribution release. Jenny McCarthy almost made it into the final rounds, but then they found out she couldn't dance, so she went up pretty quick. I know.
To be
her career would have.
Okay.
And like you said, $100 million in VHS and DVD rentals when it came out. So it definitely made its money back. But
just not in the way they expected.
Not in the way that they expected. So,
and this is what did you say, $40 million budget?
$45 million budget. And they made $35 million worldwide for box office. So they came out $90 million ahead after. It's actually still in MGM's top 20 all-time highest video rentals.
That's
it's still
insanity.
In the top 20.
That's insanity.
Crazy.
So, okay, Jason, what did you think, and would you recommend this movie to anyone?
I would not recommend it. No way. I mean, and it's not like, it's sort of like, okay, I get that there are movies for different audiences. You know, this is for people who like porn. It's
cool.
It's for that.
Sure.
And, you know, there's not a lot of those that are great. I mean, there's movies for people who like skateboarding or people who like, I don't know, bank heists or something.
There's people that like dancing. There's plenty of dancing movies out there.
Yeah. Carrie Ann Inaba, by the way, is one of the dancers in that. You know who that is? From Dancing with the Stars?
Oh.
She's one of the dancers. I was looking for her. I didn't see her.
And I think Elizabeth Berkley was on Dancing with the Stars too, wasn't she?
She was.
I think she was.
And I think she kind of struggled.
Yeah.
So I didn't like the movie. I mean, it's weird to say this because I didn't like it because it painted so many people in a very ugly way.
Yeah.
It was I think it's weird to me that you would interview so many showgirl people and miss so much of the point.
Yeah.
Like all of their terrible backgrounds, all of the straw and the way that they're talked to and insulted. But you miss for one thing, it's always odd to me when filmmakers make movies about the arts and get it wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a doctor showing someone how to do appendix surgery and he completely uses a butter knife.
Right. Just
like, wait, that's not how you do it. What are you doing? So like the idea that she can pick up an entire complicated dance number in a morning.
An instant. Yeah.
Like, wait, all right. And she's got no training. Let's remember.
Yeah,
she's got
no training. Or if she did have training, we have no idea. They like over and over and over again, they reinforce that she's never had any training. It's just a gift.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. I think they call this the Mary Sue syndrome, where we have a female character who doesn't earn anything, where everything is just given to her for no good reason, and again going back to like people just want to help this person for some reason, where
And
we
she
haven't
just shits all over
seen you
them.
struggle other than your suitcase getting stolen,
Right.
and
Yeah.
there's really no reason for you to have risen to the position that you're in, because we haven't really seen you struggle.
Right.
You've been given everything.
Well, there's an
that you have.
assumption, just to play devil's advocate, there's an assumption that she struggled, because you start out with her carrying a suitcase, looking rather lonely, trying to hitchhike her way out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So you assume that she comes from quite humble beginnings. But there isn't anything actually specifically noting any kind of struggle
until the last 20
or
minutes,
any kind of
we find
goal
out
of what she wants to be doing instead.
None of that was established.
No.
And going back to what you were saying about making a movie about the arts, but totally missing, again, the point of their struggle, what it actually takes to be and live that kind of lifestyle as a showgirl in Vegas, I think could have been really compelling.
Yeah,
in my opinion, it was the wrong director. Paul Verhoeven should not have directed this, just because if you look at his other movies.
Right.
And I think maybe coming off of Basic Instinct, they were like, oh, he can give this kind of like a sexy edge to it. But it should have been more, not documentary style, but if he did something that was more true to the lifestyle of a Vegas showgirl.
Right.
Yeah. It could have been really great.
It could have been really
And it even could have been soft porn really great.
Sure.
Like,
what's that?
Give her just a little bit of character. Give us a reason why she's so angry. This could actually, I would say that this was almost a good film.
Almost.
Like it came very close. Just if a little bit of, you could have a lot of those characters be exactly like they were. You just change some of the leads just slightly. Lines here and there.
Oh yeah.
A huge difference.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know you said that you wouldn't recommend the movie, given its sort of cult status now.
Yeah.
Would you recommend people watch it once and then never watch it again?
No, that's what you want.
Do you like this movie?
That's what you want.
That's my argument. Is
Ben
that
wants everybody to watch it once and never
I think
see it
everyone
again.
who is of age should watch. Anyone who, I don't know, I love movies, and I know you love movies too.
Yeah.
But it is one of those movies where you're like, I cannot believe that this was made. You know, it's one of those movies that is so, again, and we've all agreed that the production value is incredible.
Yeah.
It is a great movie to look at.
An insane
And
game.
it was shot well.
Yeah, it was
And
shot
there was good
well.
dancing.
The costuming, the sets, all of that stuff, the camera work and all of that was really cool. But everything else is so god awful.
Right.
That given its cult status, I'm always of the argument of like, yeah, watch it once and then never watch it again. Like you've seen what Hollywood can become, I suppose. And
when you say that, what are you hoping? What do you want their experience?
Yeah,
to
what
do?
do you want? If we don't know what this movie was trying to do, why would you want to have someone watch it? Like, what do they gain from that experience?
Because I am fascinated to hear what each individual person gets out of it. Why do you think it was made? Who was it made for?
Yeah.
That kind. It like you said, it's almost a movie that happens to you.
It just happens to you. I didn't agree to this.
Right.
It came at you
like the rain.
You did it right. So anyway, that's fascinating.
There was one big takeaway I had from the film was what Paul Verhoeven said about how he has this guilt about like, well, I directed her to act that way.
Sure.
And so it was, I kind of feel it's a little bit my fault that her career tanked and this movie did. Because as a director, I've been in that position before.
Sure.
And sometimes when you're making, well, you guys know, sometimes you're making this film when you don't see what it is until you step back and go, ooh, like they did with like Temple of Doom was like that, you know,
Sure.
Spielberg and Lucas, even though I like a lot of Temple of Doom.
Me too.
And, you know, that's a whole other conversation, but they've said in interviews that they didn't realize how dark the film was going to be until it was over. Like it's a little this and a little, here's some bugs and we're going to do pull a heart out of the chest. And, you know, I mean, they melted faces in the previous one. So, and all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, we put that next to child slavery, next to Indian films. Oh, this is really kind of dark and scary. So that happens. It happens all the time. And it's very hard to see it a lot of the times when you're making the art.
When you're in the thick of it.
Yeah. When you're inside of it and you're not seeing the forest yet, you're at the tree level and you're like, you know, and it happens. I've had it happen to me where you'll direct an actor a certain way. And at the end you look at it and go, man, I think I made a mistake.
Sure.
Having them do it like that happens. So I feel for, and I was looking at the film through that lens because I read that quote before I saw the movie. So I was trying to look at it like, is this just a culmination of a lot of like, oops choices?
A lot of bad choices. Yeah.
And I think that's the case. I think Kyle MacLachlan, Glocklin,
I think.
I don't know. Glocklin sounds like a fancy gun. That sounds like a rich person's gun.
It's not a Glock. It's
I've got my McLaughlin. Don't worry, we're safe.
He is attracted to strange psychosexual thrillers. So I can totally see him reading the script going, yeah, this is edgy. And then he's, what's her name? The lead, Elizabeth Berkley, she was on a hit TV show trying to make something edgy and different, trying to break character.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was the same I think she probably worked very hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Clearly did. Like she clearly.
Oh, I totally agree. I think, and that's the thing that's hard to see is that it's hard seeing this because you know that she's talented.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you can see that she is doing exactly what an actor is supposed to do, which she is taking direction and doing what she knows the actor is, or the director is asking for his vision of this story.
Yeah.
She's a good actor. She's doing what she's supposed to do.
She's a good dancer too.
She's an incredible dancer. But what was put together for the script and what was put together for the direction ended up in this explosion and not in a good way.
Yeah.
And you have to put yourself in her position where you're like, if you're coming off of Saved by the Bell, trying to break the mold of this cookie cutter, brainiac,
really
do-gooder character in Jesse Spano, where you're like, okay, I want to go in the opposite direction of that. Paul Verhoeven is attached to this. The guy who wrote Basic Instinct wrote this as well.
Like on paper.
How is this not a yes? How is this not like, sign me up?
On paper, it's like, it's a risk, but I think it's the right bet. And then it's like you said, Jason, just one thing after another, and you're so in the thick of it. Maybe it wasn't something
Didn't see it.
Yeah.
So I might be changing my opinion because I think what I mean is as far as whether or not you should watch it.
Yeah.
And I mean that, like, I think if you're a filmmaker and you want to know what can happen, it might be a good one to watch as a lesson.
Sure.
Interesting.
Sure.
Because I think what never took place in this film was, what is this movie really about?
Right.
I don't think that the writer and the director never sat down and went, who is the character? What do they want? What's in their way? What are we trying to say? Are we trying to show the underbelly of Showgirls? Great. Well, what's going to pull us through that? Like there wasn't those kinds of, I don't feel those kinds of conversations happen. So
no,
it kind of left this meandering plot. And if the character doesn't want anything, well, neither will the audience.
Yeah, why should we care?
Like as an actor and now as a copy editor, I was like, my job as a copy editor is to advocate for the reader. That's my role when I am a copy editor. And as an actor, it's my role to be a good storyteller and be of service to the story. Both of those parts of me were screaming at this movie.
But also to advocate for your character too.
Right.
Like,
and
you're your character's lawyer is what Ethan Hawke likes to say.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great,
you are the lawyer for your character. And even as a director,
But there's a fine line that you walk as an actor where you're not bridging into entitlement because you are not a director. You're an actor. You're a part that is a part of a bigger whole of the story. Yeah. So it's weird. It's like maybe she's just doing what she's supposed to do as an actor, which is portray the role that she's being told. But then at what point in time could she have possibly advocated for herself and say, I don't think that I'm supposed to be
especially
a raging
given
cunt
the story that's being told, like Vegas Showgirls, like you do what you're told, like you hit your marks, like you get your pelvis 10 feet into the air. Now I'm curious.
Now I want to see this script and I want to read it in a different way. Like take away what we know and like layer it in a different way. Yeah. Like what if the character wasn't yelling all the time and wasn't spotting her exit every single time? Yeah. What if Gina Gershon's character was actually like, I don't know, decrepit in some way? And it was like kind of sad.
Well, you can see like, like in her character specifically, you could sort of see like this, like maybe age kind of chipping away at her, maybe
sort of like at the very, very beginning when all the paparazzi are taking photos, they're like, how old are you? I'm like, shut the fuck up. Who says that?
No, I'm like 25.
I'm saying that would have been interesting to see. Like you see like, okay,
that would have been
the years kind of catching up with me. This insecurity of like, oh, this new girl's coming in and she's just as good as I was when I was 20. Great. Yeah, that kind of thing.
That could have been an interesting way to do it.
Would you recommend this movie?
Here's the thing. I'm like Jason. Originally, I'm like, I would not recommend this movie to anyone. I especially would not recommend this movie to anybody. And I always try to caveat this a little bit. The trigger warnings on this are pretty intense.
Yes.
If you've ever had any kind of domestic abuse,
Yes.
if you've ever had any kind of like sexual abuse, if you've ever had anything where, you know, you have been raped, this is probably not a movie for you to watch, and that's okay. Like, it's fine for you to miss this movie. But with that said, there is just it's almost like when you eat maple bacon barbecue chips and you're like, this is disgusting.
So good.
You're like, but you eat it
so good.
like, this looks like it could be good, and you eat it and you're like, oh, that's gross. Can I have another one? Like, you want another one and you don't know why. And I think it is because that there is a hint of potential in what this could have been.
Yes.
Like, no, for all the times that we have watched PG-13 movies that were like, this would have been so much better if it was rated R, we went the opposite direction. We went to an NC-17 movie that if it had been rated R, we probably would have come out with a better plot.
Right.
So kind of to your point, Jason, it's interesting watching it and seeing the potential of what could have been there and what can potentially go wrong when you're creating a movie and not taking a second to step back before you get to the finished product.
Yeah. Or in the middle, you're going, let's just make sure. I mean, if they had a budget that big, they could have done some pickup shot. I don't know. But I do think as an actor, like, it's tricky if you start getting into the territory of, well, my character needs to have an X before I can do, you know, I don't want to be this jerk. Because you don't want to go down that road because the actor doesn't see the whole story.
Right.
Like the director can't. So, like, I mean, shoot, look at The Sopranos. You know, the mother, I don't know how well you remember The Sopranos TV show.
I never watched it.
Crazy person. But she's so key to the story. Did you ever see the movie?
It has to be justified. I think that's the big thing. If there's no justification for what's happening, no one's going to care. And I think that was the big thing that was missing is there was no justification. There was no why.
Yeah.
There was nothing that incited everything that happened. It's like this big sexual flower exploded and no one actually planted the seed.
Right.
That's right.
No one asked for it.
No one asked for this movie at any rate. Well, I think we're wrapping up here. But this was such a fucking pleasure. I worded that so wrong. I didn't mean to say it that
There's only one sex scene in the movie.
There's only one sex scene.
Right.
And you will drown in that. But thank you so much for coming on to
of course.
Our podcast, Jason.
Fun. I want to do it again.
We'll have you again. Like, I know we're
again.
going to have our friend Stafford on again for when we finally watch Frozen 2. We'll need to find something because again, it should be something that you haven't watched, which I know you said you have not watched any M. Night Shyamalan movies.
Really?
I would say I have not watched anything since Signs.
Okay, I was about to
because
seen Signs.
And I have an interesting theory about Shyamalan is that he is the most debated filmmaker on whether or not he's any good.
Right.
Think about that. Every time his name comes up, people get into arguments about whether or not the guy is actually talented, which I find endlessly fascinating. No, he is good. No, he's not. This movie was a turd. No, but it was because of this.
If that man was an ice cream, he's not vanilla. He's Rocky Road with jalapeno. You either love it or you're like, I have no idea why you like that.
But it is. It's ice cream. It's made with blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but I don't think it's ice cream. It's terrible.
Right, exactly.
Like I don't think there's a single other director on the planet who is debated as far as if he has any talent than him.
Probably right. You're probably right.
I don't know.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I was thinking of fucking Edward Scissorhands. What's his name?
Tim Burton.
Oh, Tim Burton.
Tim Burton's incredible.
You can almost divide Tim Burton's career into
it's like there's at some point he just kind of loses his mind and goes deep into the world that he's created and doesn't actually think about what that looks like.
Escape, right.
Yeah, it's like he's just got Helena Bonham Carter just in his head at all times.
And Johnny Depp.
He's really into her. Literally.
He just always sees that's who he sees on the street. He doesn't actually see other faces other than those two anymore. But thank you so much for coming.
Yes.
We would love to have you on again. We once again would ask that everybody subscribe Please share about our podcast. Any and all sponsorship from the month of June and July is going towards the NAACP. At this point, I think we have $2. So
Something like that. Just listen to the ad.
I mean, we're going to make a pretty big donation ourselves, but we would like to supplement as much as we possibly can.
Yes.
Plus, I mean, we have fantastic guests and we're really funny and humble. So you should listen to our podcast.
That's true.
Yes, and I don't know what our next movie is.
Neither.
We don't know.
We'll have to rock the boat.
We'll figure it out.
The Beastmaster.
I haven't seen that.
I can't. Yeah! I know. I can't believe she hasn't seen the Beastmaster.
Let me tell you.
Well, I don't understand why you're always surprised, because it's like, that's why we started this podcast.
I don't
have
know
not
what
seen
she
most
did when
movies.
she was growing up.
I watched Cats and I watched Friends. Like that's
you would love this movie because it's got, a shirtless Mark Singer like the entire time and a shirtless Tanya Roberts.
Yes.
There's really no going wrong.
And Rip Torn as the bad guy.
He's a great villain.
Names and I don't know who anyone is. Remember, and I don't know any names.
You don't know Tanya Roberts?
You could say, "Oh my gosh, Florgan Dorgan's in it."
She played Donna's mom on that '70s show.
Well, and the guy from the Jeffersons. I can't remember the actor's name.
He plays the guy with the bow staff.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Oh my god! But now Beastmaster 2 is a totally different story.
At this point, Kristen and Newbie starts to because you guys are going to start nerding out hardcore.
Well, the Beastmaster was one of those films as a kid when I had to sneak into the theater to watch, and it terrified me. Like I was terrified at certain scenes, and it's
a trip.
Maybe
I'm sure it still holds up.
Beastmaster would be a really good one.
But that's everything. Everybody stay safe out there. Wear a goddamn mask.
Please.
And
wear a mask.
Thank you so much, Jason. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Okay, but don't actually leave.
This is just the end of the podcast.
It's just the end of